One thing that people often ask is, so what is life like on a field course? And depending who I talk to when I think about teaching this, some have the idea that this is a vacation, and some have the idea that this is like working on a chain gang. It's neither one of those things. So if I compare it to an on-campus course, I can say, okay, there is some instruction and lecturing. You're not going to get there and the professor has nothing to say. So they will tell you about things, but a lot less than in a typical course. More emphasis on doing things and less on just hearing about them. There's a more sort of personal approach. The students who I've taken on a field course, I really get to know them. We live in a research station for 2 weeks. We eat in the same cafeteria. We sleep in bunk beds in the same cabins. And we sit by the campfire in the evening and socialize. And so I sort of know these students a lot more than I know students who take an on-campus course, even if it's a similar size course. When I was in grad school, we hired undergrads to help with field work in the summer, and my supervisor always wrote out an ad for people to advertising the job, and one of the requirements he would always write is, must enjoy waking up early in the morning and putting on wet boots. So these courses are outdoors, and the weather can be variable. It can be uncomfortable. There can be biting insects. Depending where you go, you'll have a different experience. But I would say expect for things to be not always the most comfortable. There's some level of discomfort. Expect for things to be not always exactly as planned. And bring with you a healthy sense of humor about that. That's probably the most important thing. In 10 years of doing this, I have only a few examples of a student who I said, they probably didn't really enjoy their field course. If ever it happens, it's because they were not really thinking through the idea that you're going to be outside most of the time for 2 weeks. Compared to a typical on-campus course, it requires independent work more, so you are designing a study, and your access to resources may be limited. So I think this is a picture from a desert ecology course that we used to run here a couple of years ago. That particular course isn't running right now, but some of these courses are a little bit remote. Some of them are very remote. And so in terms of access to Wi-Fi and to cell service and to things like that. On the second page of that course outline where it says a typical day, that's where you'll find out about those things. Where you eat and stay is really different in different courses. These are 2 pictures from my course. This is where we stay in these cabins over here. When we're not staying there, we're traveling around in an 11-passenger van, and so like I said, we get to know each other. But that's highly, highly variable. So there could be courses where you're expected to sort of shop and cook communally in a really remote place. There can be courses where you're served food. I think more often there can be courses where you're expected to get your own food. When we stay here, and I think this is typical of a lot of courses, but not all, there's a dining hall just down the hill from there. We walk down for breakfast. At breakfast, we pack a bag lunch to go in the field. We come back at dinner time, they make us dinner. So in that case, all the food is taken care of by someone else, and that makes life easy. It's not always like that. So that's also quite variable, and you should look up individual courses, but there's always some arrangement, and if you're not sure, contact the instructor and ask them questions. You have special requirements. Do you want to know, like, can they be met in terms of food and lodging? Aside from the sense of humor, what you bring depends mostly on the environment. So you got to think, okay, I'm going somewhere cold in the spring. Probably hiking boots and rain gear are a typical thing. This is a picture from Dr. Taylor's tropical marine course. Rain gear and hiking boots, not such a big deal there. But you may have to have a wetsuit or things like that. So that's kind of course specific. Usually there are a few requirements that you bring some stuff, but if it's something really expensive or really hard to get, then it should probably say on the course outline. All right, I'm going to think about how this works now. So that hopefully that's a little bit of a flavor of what it's like. This is how it works. Registration starts at the end of the month. You come into Brenda's office, you bring your registration form. It's actually a 3-page PDF. You only need the first 2 pages in order to register. The third one is about risk assessment. You should read it. It's important, but you don't need to bring it to Brenda. She's not going, so she doesn't need to know about the risk. There's a $350 deposit due at the time of registration. Brenda's going to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we hold that check until and unless you get placed in an actual course. So it is possible that the course you want is full and you didn't get in which case, do we give the check back, or we just rip it up, or what do we do?
Sometimes students might choose the second module.
Yeah, I'm going to get to that, but if they're not in any course,
If they don't get any course, I will let them know if they got their check.
okay, they can come get it.
And if it's in a money order,
Yeah.
and they say ripped up, I will.
Okay. But that's due when you register. Sometime around the end of February, you should expect to hear from an instructor that you are in a course. I typically get, as an instructor, I get this list usually around reading week. And so then depending on how many days it takes the instructor to respond to that, it should be a matter of days, not weeks. You should get an email saying you're in this course. Along with that, on the course outline, there's a statement of when the rest of the fees are due. So there's one module that costs $350. The rest have a balance of something. And there's a deadline that could be in March or April if the course is going in May, or it could be later if the course is going in September. So at some point, the rest of that balance will come due. This gets paid to Western. This gets paid where the instructor says it's going to be paid, which is usually somewhere at their university. So if you're taking a Western course, they both get paid at Western, but if they're taking a course run by Waterloo, they would give you an address at Waterloo to send the balance of the money. Then at some point you're going to go on the field course. I showed you the histogram of when they occur. Few weeks after that, there's usually a paper due. And a few weeks after that, the instructor will have grades. It is possible that if you need this grade to graduate by a certain time, most instructors can accommodate that. But you want to talk to them and get permission from them. That usually works. Students have asked me that. I've always made that work. Sometimes they have to write their paper a little faster than everybody else because, well, if they need their grade before the paper is due, I can't do that. But I can say, well, okay, if you give it to me Thursday morning, I'll give you the grade on Friday. I just need a grade. I just need to read one of them, and the rest of it can still go some other time. So all of this happens, and then come fall, Brenda will register you for the course. And the way this works is, in order to protect you a little bit, if you were registered back here and then, you broke your ankle or whatever the day before and can't go on the course, like now this course is on your record and the due date, the drop date is passed, then you just failed a course. So that's not good. So the way we work it is the next fall, you then get registered for one of these course codes, and then your grade shows up at the end of the fall term on your official transcript. If you need it earlier, talk to Brenda. It's possible that we can register you for a course earlier, so you'll get a grade before December, but this is kind of the default, and it works because, A, as I said, if you can't go, it's good, then you just never get registered, and B, it counts as a course during the fall, so you don't have to pay summer tuition for that, and so that's also good. And it becomes a relatively easy way to kind of overload in one term, because like I'm taking 6 courses this term, but one of them was a field course that I took in May, and it's already been done for like a month, so I'm not actually doing anything for it during the term period. And that's the end. So that's the typical cycle, and of course these things are meant to be like kind of staggered for wherever the course comes in during the year. Modules can fill up, and registration is based on sort of first come, first serve. We don't give preference to anyone because they're a good student or they're a fourth-year student or anything like that. Of course, in addition to that, the other thing that you have to, in order to register, the courses do have prereqs. It varies from course to course. Typically, there's something in the realm of biology that you have to have taken as a prereq. Often, there's something in the realm of statistics you have to have taken as a prereq. Not always. My course, no stats prereq. Some others, no stats prereq, but a lot of them do. The other thing that affects whether you get into a course is whether we have spots reserved. So this is a complicated system, but the way it works out is that we have already met with the other universities when we plan these 30 courses, and we have a system worked out where if I teach a course with 20 students, I don't want to reserve all 20 spots for Western students. I'm not going to have 20 people from this department who all want to take my course, so I'll reserve a handful of spots, 4 or 5, and the other 15 will go out and other schools can claim them, and we can claim spots in their courses. And so on the website, there's a listing of spots, courses that we have guaranteed spots. Guaranteed doesn't mean it's guaranteed that you will get in, but it means it's guaranteed that a Western student will get in. And after that, it's first come, first serve. So we have guaranteed spots in a lot of these courses, spots guaranteed for Western students. I would say in most of the courses. And we tried to be strategic and get the spots in the ones that we think are going to fill up, and not get the guaranteed spots in courses that we think might not fill. This guarantee lasts until February 7th. At that point, all remaining spots are open to anyone from any university, so there's a sort of second wave of registration. And then instructors get this list of students, At that point, there are typically a few courses that get canceled. So, you know, if you were planning a course of 15 people and you only got 2 who are interested, maybe that doesn't work financially for that number of people. And so sometimes people can get bumped into other courses if their favorite one got canceled. Usually, most of them go. There's a handful, I would expect a handful out of the 30 to get canceled. We haven't had a Western course get canceled in a long time. They always seem to fill or almost fill and go. When you go online, you'll see a registration form. The beginning of it looks like this. And I think we talked about some of this stuff. So $350 is due when you apply for the course. The rest of the form asks for your contact information. It asks for your choices. So you can say, well, this is my first choice, but this is my second choice. If that one's full or if it gets canceled or whatever, I want to go in the second one. And you can specify a third choice. Or if there's only one you want and none of the others fit your schedule or your interest, you can just say, I want the one, and either I'll get it or I won't. If you want to take 2 field courses, don't put one as the first choice and one as the second choice. Fill out 2 separate registration forms and pay 2 deposits and actually register for both of them. The choices are for if you want to take 1 course, but you have a second or third choice of which one. On here, it also asks about any special needs for access and accommodation, any dietary or medical things. You should really tell your instructor about any of those things. They will want to accommodate, and they will want to let you know if they cannot accommodate before you actually end up somewhere where things are not good. The other thing that you should bring when you register is a printout of your academic record. You don't need the official transcript. Just go on the web and print it out. And please highlight the biology and statistics courses that serve as the prereqs, because we need to make sure that you actually have taken those courses and meet the prereqs for the module you're applying.